If you had to say that there were certain skills or traits that contributed most towards your leadership style, what would some of those skills or traits be?
Well, I actually had a hard time answering this question initially, but then once I went back and looked at my DISC assessment, I found a few that I really felt that I identified with. So I had a high I, which is the interactive component of the DISC assessment, and one of those areas that I felt like really described me was being very organized and attentive to details. I'm frequently the one that's creating lists and schedules, and I have a planner that's just like extremely organized with dates and times, and just like keeps me up to date on everything. And I feel like that can be really helpful in a leadership position by helping me make sure that we're getting to the goal in a timely manner. One of the other components of of that area was being very trusting. When I'm in a leadership role, I often believe that all the members of the group are going to do their equal part, which can be a really good thing because I trust that everyone is going to do what they're asked to, but it can be a bad thing when people fall short of their expectations. But I think that it's good in a leadership position because everyone feels that they are affirmed and that they're important and are a big part of whatever is going on. I also had a fairly high S or a stabilizing component of the DISC assessment. And so one of the areas that I felt like I really identified with was keeping things consistent, although I'm open to change. I used to really hate change, but I've grown to accept it if I feel like there's a convincing enough reason to change. So I'm very consistent with keeping things the way that they are if they've been working. And then if someone presents a good argument for why something should change, then I am open to that change. And so I feel like this demonstrates openness to change as well as consistency. And I feel like this most presents in work. I do things a certain way. And actually, this came up in our research meetings. I was coding our interviews and doing it on paper, which I felt like was the best way. And then as we progressed, a lot of my group members showed me why doing it on the computer was actually faster and more efficient. And so then I transformed into doing it like that.
What leadership style do you most identify with and why?
I feel that I most identify with servant leadership. There was a quote in the book that I really liked about servant leadership that said, "It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve and serve first to make sure other people's highest priority needs are being served." And I really feel that I identify with that form of leadership. I care more about how my followers or how my friends or coworkers are doing and making sure that they have everything that they need. And then I just feel that I'm more attentive to other people's concerns and their needs and focus on empathizing with them first before trying to fix my problems. And the major skills that I feel like identify with servant leadership are putting others first, helping others grow and succeed, conceptualizing, and then also empowering other people.
Would you be able to provide me with an example of how you use servant leadership?
Yes. One of the biggest examples I think for my life is going as a student missionary. I didn't go for the purpose of inspiring people or to better myself. I went because I saw that there was a need for the country that I was going to, and I wanted to serve in the best way that I could. I knew that I had the time and the ability to help the people there, and so I wanted to give that and serve the students that I had there and serve my church. And then when I came back, I was able to explain to others like what I did when I was a missionary. And then a lot of people, such as my sister and a lot of friends, have then gone because of that. And so I felt that that demonstrated servant leadership because when I went, I demonstrated my value of serving other people and giving back to the community first. And when we were there were a lot of things that we might have needed, but that wasn't really our priority. Our priority was serving the kids in the best way that we could and serving our church and just doing anything we needed wherever we could. And so I felt that I took the time to help other people when they had areas of their life that were lacking or needing assistance. Whether that was like tangible things that they needed or whether that was time, I felt that I really focused on giving in that way.
In your servant leadership style, what would you say are some of your strengths and weaknesses associated with that leadership style?
With servant leadership, I feel that I have a few weaknesses. One of the biggest ones is with listening. In conversation, I really try to listen to the other person, but a lot of times I respond quickly and say what I feel that they need to hear, or talk about how I can relate to what is going on in their life rather than actively listening, and being attentive to what they're saying and what they need. So, like, sometimes in arguments with my fiance or with friends, I'll respond with what I feel like they need to hear rather than attentively listening and affirming what they have to say. And then one of my other weaknesses I would say is with foresight. Sometimes I get stuck in looking right where we are right now and what's working here rather than looking to the future. So, like, for example, with finances, a lot of times I look at like what's happening right now and the fact that our budget works right now rather than looking to the future to see if I can like transform that so that we can grow in that way. And for strengths, I think one of my biggest ones is healing. So I really support those around me, and try to help them overcome personal problems, and help them find their wholeness, by conversation and just by quality time with them. And so after I'm able to spend time and help other people in that way, I also find the most growth in myself, because in retrospect, I'm learning how to help myself by helping them. And so, like, for example, with some of my friends or people that I'm close to, I would do anything for them at any time, because I feel that in that way they see that they are cared about. And then for my other strength, within servant leadership, I think is empathy. So whenever I'm talking with other people or working with them, I really try to stand in their shoes to better understand their journey and how to lead them in the right direction and also lead us, in the right direction. And I just think that utilizing empathy in interactions, helps to better understand the individual and helps for growth. And just like in any situation, whether that's in school, if I get frustrated in a project, I really try to think about like where they're coming from, and maybe that will explain more why what is happening is happening.
So you say that you identify most with servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
In what scenarios or environments, though, would you say you take on a different leadership style, and why?
Sometimes I think I identify with an adaptive leadership style because I personally like to lead by example, but then sometimes I see that there's an alternate way that might work better. So, for example, when I was teaching first grade as a missionary, I had it in my mind the way that I wanted to teach the class and the way that I wanted to deal with students. And then in that way, I frequently was getting frustrated with students because they weren't listening or they would do whatever they wanted in the classroom, and I wanted to be kind to them and give them what they needed. And so I was having a difficult time disciplining them because I thought that what they needed was just, to be cared on and to be loved and to be given what they needed. But another teacher talked to me about how a lot of times these students need structure. And so I tried to implement that and quickly learned that by giving them structure, it helped the students actually thrive a lot more, and they were able to learn better, they were able to pay attention better in the classroom, and just overall it worked a lot better. And so I was able to adapt how I led the students based on something new that I had learned and then what I saw was most beneficial to them.
So, as we had discussed your servant leadership style and how much it has benefited you personally and in your academics and your career, I understand that you have created and planned a vision. Would you mind sharing that with me?
Of course. So, my vision statement is to embody the character of Christ, devoting myself to the service of others, to empower those I come in contact with, encouraging them to find their inner beauty, to take time for myself, catering to my needs as means of preparing myself for the care of others, and to face the world with a lens of optimism, believing that I can make a difference.
And with that vision, how do you plan on integrating it with servant leadership?
I feel that my overall vision, just for my life in general, is to serve others. whether that be my family, my friends, coworkers, classmates, or even strangers. And so I feel that with my life being devoted to serving others, I can lead others to do the same, and it can be a chain reaction. Falling into a servant leadership lifestyle has helped me to gain perspective of my personal blessings and my shortcomings, as well as the needs of other people around me, and as well as my leadership style to become more aware of the needs around me and to make a positive impact.
That's great and all, but how do you plan on making that vision a reality with tangible results?
Well, I've come up with a couple long term goals that I feel will embody those. The first goal is that my husband and I will volunteer at church or with a community program at least once a month by the end of June 2019. And then my second goal is to take one of my friends or family members, coworkers, or classmates out to dinner or just on like a date bi-monthly to talk about what's going on in their lives by the end of 2 years. And then I've come up with some activities for each of those that will help me reach those goals. So for the goal of going to volunteer at church or community events, um, the activities that we can do to work towards that would be go to church every week, participate in possibilities or different community volunteer opportunities around this area, and go to local nursing homes, and then journal each week about the changes that I want to see in the community around me and what are the things that I can do to see those changes. And then for my goal of taking out friends or family to learn more about them, I am going to write a card at least once a month to a friend, family member, coworker, or classmate, just to create that contact and to show them that I care about what's going on with them. To also invite a friend or family member or coworker to church with my husband and I. And then also to pass out seeds of growth cards to strangers, which are just little cards that have encouraging statements or Bible verses that have been really beneficial to me in the past. And so I just hope with these goals and with these small activities that in the very near future I'll be able to completely embody a servant leadership style as an occupational therapist.